guys. Today I am going to be giving you some goth makeup tips. And one of the big reasons I decided I wanted to do this video is because I began really exploring the goth look, and the internet was still enough of a potato that you couldn't get that much help. I mean, your images that you found were going to be so grainy or so blurry, you weren't going to get anything out of it. So I kind of had to find my own way, and unfortunately as a result, if you ever find any of my pictures from my younger years as a goth, it is a hot mess. I look horrible, and I want to prevent all of you from going through that same issue. At the end of the day, makeup is an art form, and there is no solid, correct, or incorrect way to express art or to express yourself. So although these will be pointers to make you look a little bit more like maybe a style you like, don't take it as law, and never take anybody's advice on makeup as law, because it's just each individual's opinion on it. So let's begin from the ground up. So before you even start applying your makeup, there's something you need to consider: whether or not you are going to be someone who wears base makeup. This is going to make a huge difference, not only in your look, but in your overall skin itself. I do not wear foundation. I have not worn foundation for, I believe, over a year now, and it pretty much has completely changed my skin life. I was someone who was caking on things like the Kryolan Super Color. As beautiful as this looks on, and as great a job as it does with being buildable and giving you that, you know, kind of dead look, I would not necessarily recommend using this on a regular basis. It is not a makeup that is made for everyday use. That is not what it was intended for. This is for theatrical pieces to be used on stage, and it's for movie and TV production, for like creature makeup and stuff. It is lovely. It gives you this flawless finish, and you can either start out with it just making you a little bit paler, or you can keep slathering more and more of it on and become completely chalk white. But the problem with that is, since this is a grease paint, and paint is absolutely a perfect definition of what this is, this makeup is going to be a full-blown, like, mask on your skin. It is going to clog you up really badly, like nothing you've ever experienced before, and that can give you a vast variety of skin problems, especially if you are someone who already has problematic skin of some kind or another. My suggestion is, because most goth makeup is meant to make you look a little paler and a little more dead, if you are dead set on using a foundation, please make sure that you are not using it on a daily basis. Maybe use it when you're going out, but if you're having a day where you're staying in your house, even if you're filming or something, you know, there is just a wonderful variety these days of video editors out there. If you're just going to be staying in your house all day and filming, as long as you're not doing a makeup tutorial, you're just doing a sit-down vloggy type video, don't use it. Just give your skin a breather and just do your eyes and your lips that day. Your skin does need a break if you wear any foundation, not even just the grease paint. Any foundation, if you're wearing it on a daily basis, is going to wreck your skin. Even though I've never been someone who really has a problem with clogged pores, you know, causing breakouts and stuff, even as a teenager, I was very lucky in the fact that I wasn't someone who really broke out. I have maybe one, you know, at a time that no one even noticed, and I could easily cover it up. What it did do when I was using foundation on a regular basis is it was stripping all the good stuff out of my skin. I did not come from a family of people who wore makeup. My mother didn't really wear makeup, so I didn't understand the rules of how it worked. So I just kind of followed what the other kids were doing, so to speak. And as a result, By the time I was, in my mid-20s, my skin was just a mess. It was really, really dry to the point where I had to slather heaps of goop onto it every morning, every night, do almost regular facial masks. It took me almost 2 years to get my skin back to where it should be because I had spent so long sucking all the good stuff out by caking myself in foundation. So just be careful how often you're wearing it. And again, if you insist on wearing it, I would also say go for something higher end. These days, there are a lot of higher end makeup companies that make pure white foundations or concealers or very, very light toned ones. And before anyone tries to get obnoxious about it, I don't see any problem with someone with very dark skin doing the same thing all of us pale people do and wearing a foundation that's a couple shades paler than they are. If we're allowed to do it, they're allowed to do it. And again, just like me, you don't necessarily have to wear foundation to have goth makeup. I do just fine not wearing any at all. The only base makeup I wear is concealer right under my eyes because I do have some chronic diseases and they cause almost plum purple circles under my eyes, but that is literally all I do. I have it right under here, sometimes covering where my eyebrows might be growing in, and that's literally all that my base is. So, following this, we'll come to contour, blush, and highlight. In terms of the shapes for your contour, there's a couple of relatively popular ones that people have used ever since the goth movement began. One of them is that very chiseled out look. I call it the Maleficent look, where you have this really, really strong cheekbone, and it's basically just one big stripe up your cheek. And the other is just completely hollowing it out to make you look more like a skull. Those tend to be the main two that people use. Now, as beautiful as it can look on basically anybody that you see in photographs, you do need to bear in mind some of the typical, rules of regular makeup application, what is going to look good on your face. I have attempted in the past to do that really chiseled out, stripy looking contour, and it looked ridiculous on me. My face shape just does not suit it. All it did was make it look like I drew a line on my face in like pink and brown and stuff. No matter what I blended it with, I couldn't get it to look right because my face naturally casts this long shadow right here. Even when I have no contour on at all, it casts a shadow. And the problem with that when you're doing that stripy kind of triangular type of contour is then you have this cast shadow that goes all the way down the side of your face and then this big, dark, almost black patch right there. And it looks basically like you just have no idea how to contour yourself. So, my advice then, if you're someone who has trouble understanding what shape to use for your contour for your individual face shape, go ahead and just try things on a day that you're going to be alone at home, that you don't need to go anywhere, that you have the time to dedicate to it, and just see what looks good. Take some photos and some quick videos in different lighting and just see how it looks. The other thing we come to is contour color. This can get kind of difficult because typically speaking, contour on goth makeup is darker and more dramatic than regular makeup, but regular makeup doesn't really want it to be so dramatic that it doesn't look natural. So the problem that lies in that issue is the fact that if you're someone really pale like myself and you want something a little darker and more dramatic, all that really exists for the most part is very dark browns, and then it just ends up looking crazy again on you because dark brown on someone my color doesn't look right. And so you've got a couple of choices when you're faced with this issue. One choice that I tend to do is I find eyeshadows that are kind of between gray and brown. They have a lot of gray tone to them, but still that kind of warm brown that gives you a more natural but more dramatic contour color so it doesn't look like you just drew on yourself with a marker. The problem with that is that eyeshadow, although it blends beautifully on the eyes, is not necessarily made to go on your cheek and on that large a surface area. So sometimes when I'm trying to buff out my contour as you normally would and it is made of eyeshadow, I can't get my buffing brush to make it uniform throughout. It gets very patchy. So when that happens, I tend to mix the eyeshadow with a regular contour. Your other options, of course, are there's not that much available yet, but there are some things like Fenty Beauty has a contour stick that has a very gray tone to it. You can always try something like that if you're comfortable with cream contours. And if you're not, there are some goth-centered brands like Lunatic Cosmetics. Kat Von D also has a gray toned contour if you're comfortable with using her brand. The issue with some of the brands I've mentioned, Kat Von D, Lunatic Cosmetics, Fenty Beauty, is they do not come cheap. And I personally believe that the only part of your makeup you absolutely 100% should be spending a lot of money on is what goes directly onto your face, so like foundation, concealer, primer, things like that, since it can cause the most damage to you. I don't think you necessarily have to spend that much on contour. So if you are someone who is either just starting out in the gothic subculture or someone who just, on the whole, doesn't have a lot of money, don't feel like you have to buy those expensive brands for a good gray tone contour. Like I said, you can always do what I do and just kind of make it yourself by mixing a gray toned eyeshadow with a regular brown contour, because then you have the gray color from the eyeshadow but the smoothness of the contour since it's meant to go on that part of your face. Blush is one of those funny things that a lot of today's goths are not interested in. They're like, no, it makes me look too alive. And it's really funny to me because if you look back at a lot of pictures from when the movement began, pretty much everyone is wearing hot pink blush on their cheeks. So honestly, this is just a personal preference thing. I don't usually wear it unless I'm doing a very specific look that it ties into, like when I do a lot of pink and a lot of blue. But honestly, you don't have to wear it. You don't have to avoid wearing it. It's just personal preference. And once again, just like contour color, you're gonna have to kind of play around and see what looks the best on you. The nice thing is, since, again, goth is really dramatic and it has a lot crazier looks to it and people expect you to look kind of crazy, you don't have to stick to just the typical pinks and peaches. If you are doing a full purple, green, and black look, you can use that purple eyeshadow as your blush. You can use blue as your blush. You can use pretty much anything as your blush color because it matches the style you're going for and no one is really gonna question it. So that's kind of a fun freedom area in goth makeup. Highlighter kind of follows the same rules as the other two as far as color goes. It depends again on the goth whether they want it or not. I tend to put some on my cheekbones and a little bit on the tip of my nose just to make me pop a little bit more in photographs and on video. I don't really wear it when I'm just going out and about for like groceries and stuff. I just don't think it's necessary and I want to save it. I have a variety of different types of highlights I use. My favorite one is actually the Wet n Wild one because, strangely, as cheap as I think it's like $3 and some change, it actually is the highest quality, most beautiful one I've ever used in my life so far. And a little goes a long way, so it's like this big when you get it, and it lasts you forever. I think my last one lasted me a year. The only reason I have not restocked it is because I'm actually using Wrench from the Shane Dawson palette as my highlighter right now, as a white highlighter. And that's the thing, again, goth makeup, more dramatic. Regardless of your skin tone, you have more freedom to go a little bit color crazy with your highlighter as long as it doesn't look, you know, too dark on you. So you can use a green highlighter, you can use blue, you can use purple, pink, whatever, and it's pretty much going to look good regardless as long as, you know, you blend it out nicely and everything. So If you have, say, a look like mine today, you could do pink or purple. You can mix it up and kind of do a combination of both, and it's really fun. So sky's limit. Don't box yourself into just a white highlight or just a gold highlight, and if that is what you like, go ahead and do it. Now for the most controversial part of the entire video, the eye and lip look. Eyes and lips in goth makeup are the #1 thing that people are going to notice on you. Before anything else, they're going to pay attention to here and here as soon as they see you. That is your statement piece. And it's also the most difficult part of your makeup to get used to, because I'm sorry, there's no way around it. It's going to take you a good long time of playing around in your makeup to determine what goth looks suit you the best. Again, there is some creative freedom. You don't have to, not do something. If you want to do it, go ahead and try. You just might need to tweak it and adjust it for you. An example is this look that I did today is inspired by a lot of Instagram photos I've seen of people from Wave Gothic Treffen and Merluna and all those wonderful festivals. And the thing about it is, generally speaking, this part in the inner corner, people make really dark and they drag it down to about halfway down their nose. Now, this is the part I needed to adjust in this makeup. The cut crease part, that looks good on pretty much anybody. Everyone looks amazing with cut crease. The colors, again, but when it comes to this bit, I have to be careful, because when you're dragging your eyeshadow down your nose, you really need to keep in mind the shape of your nose. Mine, although very straight, does have some bumps right here and right there. Because the bumps are so high up on my nose, when I try to drag my eyeshadow any further down than this and do like a full, death metal type look, it looks strange. I can't make it look good because the bump makes it so it goes ba-doom boom instead of going straight down in this really sleek way. So I know that just does not suit my face and I don't do it. I can still do the basic idea. You get what I was going for with this look, but I need to adjust it to make more sense with my face. Another thing is I prefer to not have eyebrows, so I can drag my eyeshadow up a lot higher than the people who do have eyebrows, and based on that, the shape of my brow bone, the shape of the top of my skull, the shape of my eyes, I had to keep all of this in mind when trying to determine what style and shape of eyeshadow I wanted to do for myself. I used to do a lot of cat eye, but because my eyes are very large and very round naturally, it's hard to get a perfect cat eye to look right on them. I've done every trick in the book, but they're so incredibly round that it just ends up looking kind of strange and out of place in a way. So what I did instead is I discovered if I want a more angular look, a more feline look, I do what I call Jareth makeup, like, yeah, the guy from Labyrinth. That very elongated, pointy eyeshadow that then swoops down right there and ends about where mine ends on my nose. It looks amazing. It's the only way I can do a very elongated eyeshadow look and have it suit my eye shape and the shape of my brow bone. But when I do it, it looks great. And there's ways to tweak that look to suit any face shape. The best look on my face, in my opinion, is what I did today. A very, very rounded eyeshadow look. Make it almost perfectly spherical and then bring it down and make the angles right at the points in the inner corners of my eyes. Because my eye socket and my eyes are round, having round eye makeup just looks correct on them. Now, the big part of goth eyeshadow that gets everyone all heated for some crazy reason is the colors. There are definitely some gatekeepers out there who decide that if you use anything that isn't brown, black, gray, or white, you're not really doing goth makeup. And it makes me laugh because the monochrome thing, it can look absolutely gorgeous. People like It's Black Friday look just beautiful in monochrome makeup. It does definitely suit a lot of people, and it looks lovely and just absolutely stunning and perfect. But that suits their personality. Your makeup should be an artistic reflection of who you are on the inside, in my personal opinion. And some of us don't feel monochrome on the inside. Some of us are really outgoing. Some of us are really chatty and excitable and energetic, and we want to display that on our faces, which means bright colors and crazy looks. The other part of this whole gatekeeping, oh, make it monochrome or it's not real goth makeup, that makes me laugh is all of my vintage goth clothing comes from my aunt, who was a goth from the beginning of the movement to now. She was there when it began with all of the other brand new goths that had just been forged by the punk movement. And her exact words when I visited her in November were, if people really want to be trad goth, they should actually be looking more like pastel goths, because their look is a lot closer to traditional goth than the trad goth of today. And she's absolutely right. Look at photos and videos of 80s goths. Almost no one does full monochrome. They all had bright pink on their cheeks, bright pink and blue eyeshadow, bright red lips, pink hair. Everything was very pastel because that's just what was available at the time. All the darkness was done with your eyeshadow and the clothes you were wearing, because that's all you really had. And it's just funny to me, all these people like, it's not real trad goth makeup if you're using colors. And it's like, well, trad means traditional, and traditional as in classic goths we're colorful. Let people be colorful. And I think, again, this is where people forget what the important part of the movement is. A, the love of the music, and B, self-expression. Somebody can easily be colorful and express themselves as a goth person who loves goth music and the subculture. I love wearing colorful makeup. I'm still goth. Of Herbs and Altars loves colors. Still a goth. Drac Makins has even pulled some color into her look. Still a goth. I mean, you can't just decide for someone else what their identity is in any capacity. To do so is just completely arrogant and obnoxious, and it makes you just that. A completely arrogant and obnoxious person. So don't worry so much about, oh, I need to sacrifice all these pretty colors that I like to appease the masses and just wear black and white. If you want to wear just grayscale eyeshadow, that is fine. But if you want to have hot pink eyeshadow with dark eyeliner, you're still a goth and it's gonna be okay. Just play around with colors that suit your skin tone. Play around with shapes and kind of determine what is going to look best on you. What I did when I was trying to figure out what eyeshadow shape would fit me best, because I didn't want to waste a bunch of product, is I looked up just a quick Google search of goth eyeshadow looks. And when I looked at the pictures, I paid close attention to the bone structure of the people in the images, and I saved the photos of people whose bone structure matched mine the closest, because I knew if it looks good on them, it's going to look good on me. And then again, don't be a carbon copy of someone. Go ahead and just pull your own ideas into it too. Same goes for the frigging lipstick. Black lipstick didn't really exist except in like theatrical sense of the word in the 80s. People had to get their makeup from the drugstore. You couldn't buy it online. Things like Jeffree Star didn't exist yet. You had red for the most part, and pink is what most people were wearing on their lips. Red actually looks amazing on goth people. Whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. It just looks great because it gives you that vampire essence. And a lot of us tend to like that. Red and pink are fine. If you want black lipstick, you're fine. Black lipstick and red lipstick luckily look good on any skin tone, any lip shape, anybody. So you pretty much can't go wrong with either of those, but it's also fine to bring in dark berries, purples, blues, whatever fits what you're doing here. And this is one of those times you get to pull completely away from the rules of traditional makeup artistry and say a big fuck you to everybody in charge of that, because you're not gonna follow this idea of if you have dramatic lips, you need soft eyes, or if you have dramatic eyes, you need soft lips. It doesn't matter anymore when you're doing goth because of how crazy it's supposed to look. So you can have dark and dramatic eyes and dark and dramatic lips. Generally speaking, if I hadn't been semi-lazy today, if I didn't eye look like this, I would have done an ombre lip where it's mostly red, but there's black on the inner corners of it. And ooh, ombre lips are so cool in goth makeup looks. It looks incredible on people when you do like a purple and blue fade or something. And glitter, also glitter on the lipstick, absolutely amazing. So don't worry too much about the color. I mean, if someone's really going to focus that much on your lip color and decide you're not a goth because you're not in black lipstick, they have got to sort out their life priorities, because that's not the most important thing in the world. And the last detail on lipstick is going to be lip shape. A lot of people like to overdraw their lips in the goth subculture, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It can look really beautiful on people, but this is one of those areas you have to be extremely, extremely careful with, because you can't really just go on YouTube, find a tutorial on how to make your lips look bigger with makeup and just follow it to the letter and have it look good. It's very, very tricky, because depending on your natural lip shape, you'll either need to fill in the full bottom, the bottom inner corners, the top inner corners, the middle. I mean, it really depends on your lip shape. I do better, since I have kind of a thinner upper lip and a fuller bottom lip, with filling out the outer corners instead. But again, don't assume that you can just do what I do. This is, in my opinion, the hardest part of goth makeup, is if you want to overdraw your lips, coming up with what shape's going to suit you best. And honestly, the best way I could find to figure out how to do that on my lip shape was, again, good old Google Images. I looked up full lips pictures, and I looked for full headshots, front facing. I took a picture of myself, and I went into Photoshop. I made it, semi-transparent, and then I would put it over my own mouth. If it looked completely ridiculous, I was like, this is not the shape for me. And if it looked good, I stuck with it. I wish I could give you a simpler idea on how to do that for yourself, but as of right now, that's the best method that I've personally found for it. And this is kind of a bonus bit, because it technically goes on your face, although, it's debatable whether it's technically makeup or not, and that is your eye color. A lot of people aren't completely happy with their eye color. I kind of lucked out in the fact that mine are pale enough that depending on the lighting I'm in and what I do with my eyeshadow, they can look super deathly pale, super bright blue, super pale gray, and I don't really, get color contacts that much, but color contacts, absolutely a gorgeous part to tie your makeup together. I have no problem with people wearing them. I think it looks great on everyone again. But be careful where you're getting them from. Make sure it's a reliable place. And make sure that if you're going to invest in them, that one, you're going to invest in taking care of them too. It's Black Friday has a fantastic video on how to care for your colored contacts that you should definitely consider watching if you're thinking about getting them. And keep in mind, even if you get them from like TTDI or Pinky Paradise, it's still an investment. There's something that lasts a year. There's something that costs a decent amount of money for a pair of, especially if you need prescription lenses. So make sure that if you're putting in some money that's substantial to you, you're actually going to get your money's worth out of them. Go ahead and make that, your contacts for the next few months or something, and get good use out of them. That's what I would do anyway. Obviously, you don't have to if you don't want to, but I think if you're putting that much money into something, it's good to get a lot of use out of it. That's all the tips I can think of right now. I hope you had fun watching this video, and I hope it was informative to some of you. And as always, do something that makes you happy today, no matter what anyone else thinks about it, and I'll see all of you again soon.